This is a strategic scenario. Based on publicly available information about Houthi drone capabilities, maritime hardening doctrine, and private security operations in the Red Sea, this video reconstructs what could happen when 4 attack drones target the wrong ship. 4 drones, 2 Marines, 6 minutes. At 1842 in the southern Red Sea, 4 Houthi Samad-3 attack drones launched from the Yemeni coast near Hodeidah. Their target? A medium-range product tanker called MT Independent Spirit. Flag of the Marshall Islands. Cargo, 34,000 tons of Jet A1 aviation fuel, contracted to the US Military Sealift Command. Final destination, Singapore. The Houthi targeting cell had studied this vessel for 9 days. They knew her speed, her course, her schedule. They did not know that 2 private security contractors had boarded her in Djibouti. Former US Marines. One of them a designated marksman from 1st Reconnaissance Battalion. 27 minutes later, all 4 drones were on the bottom of the Red Sea, and not one of them was stopped by a warship. 2 days before entering the high-risk transit corridor, the master of Independent Spirit, Captain Elena Vasquez, called all hands to the main deck. What began is what the industry calls hardening, turning a civilian tanker into something that no longer looks like easy prey. First, the razor wire. Concertina coils, NATO CK3 type with 22mm blades, run along the full length of the bulwark on both sides, bow to stern. Densest amidships, where the freeboard under full load was only 4 meters, the most vulnerable section for any boarding attempt. But the 2 contractors knew the boarding threat was secondary. In the Red Sea in this scenario, the primary threat does not come over the rail. It comes out of the sky. Sergeant Daniel Hayes had spent 8 years in the United States Marine Corps, 4 of them in 1st Reconnaissance Battalion as a designated marksman. His weapon for this transit was not a carbine. It was a Barrett M82A1, a 50 caliber anti-materiel rifle, 10-round magazine, with a Nightforce ATACR optic zeroed for 600 meters. A 50 caliber round does not just stop a drone, it disintegrates it. Corporal Marcus Walker, the second contractor, carried a Bushmaster XM15 in semi-automatic configuration. The full auto version is prohibited for private security under international jurisdiction, plus a second Barrett as backup. Inside the deckhouse, the Citadel, an armored compartment on sea deck with duplicated UKMTO communication lines, Inmarsat C satellite link, and a 96-hour supply of water and food. At 23:40, the hardening was complete. The captain declared anti-piracy lockdown. The deck went empty, and the ship waited. Here is why a Houthi drone attack is fundamentally different from a Somali pirate attack, and why most armed security teams on the planet would have failed this scenario. A Somali pirate skiff approaches on the surface at 24 knots, closing horizontally. A marksman has a stable target moving across his sight picture. He shoots the helmsman. The skiff loses control. Threat neutralized. A Houthi Samad-3 drone is a completely different problem. It approaches at over 200 kilometers per hour. It comes in low, sea-skimming at 3 to 5 meters above the wavetops, below the horizon line, almost invisible until the final approach. It carries an 18-kilogram warhead, and it does not need to board the ship. It only needs to touch it. Against a tanker carrying 34,000 tons of jet fuel, one successful drone strike is catastrophic. Standard maritime security, carbines, razor wire, water cannons, is built to stop men climbing a rope. It is completely useless against a guided missile with wings. Stopping a Samad-3 requires 3 things almost no security team has: a 50 caliber weapon, a 600-meter zero, and a shooter who can lead a target moving at 60 meters per second. Independent Spirit had all 3. At 1842, Corporal Walker, on watch on the port bridge wing, caught a flicker of movement on the horizon. Low. Too low for an aircraft, too fast for a boat. He keyed the intercom. 1 word. Air. Hayes was on the flybridge, the highest accessible point on the deckhouse, 11 meters above the waterline. in 19 seconds. He had pre-positioned the Barrett there during hardening on a bipod behind a steel partition with the optic already capped against spray. Captain Vasquez pressed the UKMTO emergency button. The alert went out through Inmarsat-C to the coordination center in Dubai, then instant retransmission to every coalition warship in range. The nearest was USS Mason, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, hull number DDG-87, in the central Red Sea, 94 nautical miles to the north. Aboard Mason, the watch officer sounded general quarters. An MH-60R Seahawk began spinning up on the flight deck. Estimated time to the incident, 35 minutes. 35 minutes that Independent Spirit would have to survive on her own. Through the Nightforce optic, Hayes counted them. Not one drone. 4. Spread in a loose diamond formation, sea-skimming, line abreast. 2 leading, 2 trailing. The Houthi tactic was simple and effective. Saturate the target with more drones than any single weapon could engage in time. A tanker has no point defense system. 4 drones against a civilian vessel was not an attack. It was supposed to be an execution. Distance, 4,000 meters. Closing at 60 meters per second. 66 seconds to impact. Hayes did not fire at 4,000 meters. At that range, against a small crossing target moving at 60 meters per second, even a .50 caliber round arrives too late to where the drone used to be. He waited. He chose the lead drone on the right, the one with the cleanest approach angle, the one that would reach the ship first. He put the Nightforce reticle not on the drone, but ahead of it. Lead. The same skill that drops a moving target at 600 meters on a rifle range applied to a machine. Distance, 800 meters. He fired. The first round missed high. The drone kept coming. Distance, 600 meters. Second round. The .50 caliber projectile struck the lead drone in the forward fuselage. At that closing speed, the drone did not just fall. It came apart. Wing separating, warhead tumbling, the whole airframe disintegrating into the wave tops in a flat spray of debris. 1 down, 3 remaining. 40 seconds. Walker, on the bridge wing with the second Barrett, opened on the trailing left drone. 2 rounds, the second clipped the tail. The drone yawed violently, lost its guidance lock, and cartwheeled into the sea 400 meters off the port quarter. 2 down, 2 remaining. 28 seconds. Captain Vasquez threw the helm hard to starboard and pushed the main engine past its rated limit, turning the tanker's stern to the inbound drones, presenting the narrowest possible profile, putting the ship's own wake between the hull and the attack axis. Hayes cycled to the third drone. Lead, fire, hit. It detonated 200 meters short. A premature warhead burst against the wall of spray thrown up by the tanker's hard turn. 3 down, 1 remaining, 11 seconds. The fourth drone was the problem. It had been the trailing right drone. When the ship turned, it had the most time to correct, and its guidance system did exactly what it was designed to do. It locked on to the largest infrared and radar return on the ocean and adjusted course directly toward the tanker's now exposed starboard side. 11 seconds. Distance, 660 meters. Closing fast. Hayes had 3 rounds left in the magazine. First round. Miss. The drone was jinking now, a terminal evasion pattern, no longer flying a straight line. Second round. Miss. 9 seconds. 400 meters. Walker's second Barrett was empty. He was reloading. He would not make it in time. Hayes had 1 round left. He stopped trying to track the drone's jink. Instead, he picked a point in space, the point where the drone had to be in order to hit the ship, and he held there. not tracking, ambushing. 300 meters. The drone flew into his sight picture. He fired his last round. The .50 caliber projectile struck the 4th Samad-3 at a closing distance of 240 meters. The warhead detonated in the air, close enough that fragments peppered the tanker's starboard hull and shattered a galley porthole. No penetration, no fire, no casualties. 4 drones, 4 kills. The last one with the last round in the magazine. The total engagement from Walker's first call to the final detonation, 5 minutes, 51 seconds. Here is the part of this scenario that should keep naval planners awake at night. On one side, the Houthi attack. 4 Samad-3 drones. Unit cost, by Western intelligence estimates, around $20,000 each. Total cost of the attack, $80,000. On the other side, the defense. 1 Barrett M82A1 rifle, $13,000. Roughly 20 rounds of .50 caliber ammunition fired, about $300. The 2 contractors' day rate for the high-risk transit, call it $4,000 combined. The Houthis spent $80,000 to attack. The defense that defeated them cost, in expended resources, about $300. Now compare that to the alternative. If Independent Spirit had carried no security, USS Mason would have responded. An Arleigh Burke destroyer worth $2 billion, burning $50,000 in fuel and maintenance per hour, firing SM-2 interceptors at over $2 million per shot. 2 ex-Marines with $300 of ammunition did what a $2 billion warship would have done, and they did it 29 minutes faster. At 1909, the MH-60R Seahawk from USS Mason reached the position. There was nothing left to engage. 4 debris fields on the surface, already dispersing. 1 tanker, lightly damaged, continuing on course at 15 knots. The Seahawk crew reported the situation, circled once, and returned to Mason. The destroyer never fired a shot. It never needed to. Independent Spirit arrived in Singapore 6 days later, 2 days behind schedule, having rerouted south around the most dangerous stretch of the corridor. Her cargo of jet fuel was transshipped to American military airfields in the Western Pacific exactly as contracted. The Houthis never publicly acknowledged the attack. Acknowledging it would have meant acknowledging that 4 drones, a coordinated saturation strike designed to overwhelm any defense, had been defeated by 2 men with rifles. That kind of failure does not appear on state media. And here is the lesson, the one that matters beyond this single scenario. For 20 years, the world's navies have built the defense of global shipping around enormous, expensive platforms. $2 billion destroyers, $1 million interceptor missiles, carrier strike groups. But the threat has gotten cheap. A drone now costs less than a used car. And against cheap threats, expensive defenses lose. Not because they fail, but because the economics collapse. You cannot fire $2 million missiles at $20,000 drones forever. The future of maritime security looks less like a battleship. It looks like 2 people, 1 rifle, and $300 of ammunition. In the right place, at the right time. The Houthis learned that on a Tuesday evening in the Red Sea. The rest of the world is still catching up.